Hi everyone. So today I want to share with you a Dreamwork ritual that is specifically for the womb space. And this is for anyone who is working on their menstrual health or healing, or wants to connect more deeply with the womb space, or feels any kind of like general disconnect, whether it's through a physical condition or any kind of just emotional or spiritual disconnect from the womb space. And this is a practice that I have done personally a few times, and it's something that's been really helpful for me. Dreamwork is something that many cultures all over the world have practiced for many centuries. And Dreamwork is something that can help people to connect with their ancestors, to spirit guides, to plant energies, to and also to their subconscious and higher selves. So this is something that is really helpful for anyone who is working on something in the physical realm and is maybe hitting some roadblocks. And for example, with my healing process, I have done a lot of really great transformation. I've been able to reduce my pain significantly with endometriosis, but sometimes I hit a roadblock or I start to regress in some way. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? I'm doing the right herbs. I'm doing the right lifestyle and diet things. And, I'm taking time for myself. I'm playing my instruments to have that spiritual connectedness. And I feel like crap right now. My cycle is horrible. What's going on? And so when I hit those blocks, I turn to the spirit realm. I turn to Dreamwork. I turn to the unseen because I'm not seeing what's going on. And connecting with the unseen and doing Dreamwork helps me to gain information about what I could be doing that I'm missing out on in day-to-day life. So when I did this Dreamwork ritual, I'll tell you about a dream that I had. And just to kind of give you some context to understand how Dreamwork can be really beneficial and how to process your dreams and interpret your dreams. So I started a Dreamwork ritual where I'm working with a moon oil that I rub on my womb space before bed, and I put all on my pulse points around my hairline and at the ends of my hair. And before going to bed, I set the intention of wanting to gain information about what I can do or what's blocking me from healing. And one of the dreams that I had, because I had a few, but one of the dreams that I had was about being in the basement of my grandmother's house. And in the basement, there were two separate areas. One was like a tunnel area that was just really kind of dark and damp, and in the tunnels there were ogres. And the other space was a room in the basement, and the room was just a plain room. And I laid down on the bed, and then there's this woman in the room who was kind of like running things. And she came and laid down on the bed next to me, and she wanted me to move to the edge of the bed. And I was like, I'm not moving to the edge of the bed because you're just going to push me off. And so I laid down in the middle of the bed, and I was like, we can share this space. So I just laid there. And eventually I was like, I don't want to lay here. I'm going to fight these ogres, and I'm going to get out of here. And so I went out into the tunnels and closed the door behind me, and these two ogres started coming at me. So I turned into this pile of like liquid, and it was kind of like this light colored, yellowish, goldish kind of liquid. And when the ogres touched me, they blasted into smithereens, and some of their dust landed on me. So I formed into an ogre, but I was like a golden ogre. And I was going through the tunnels and they were coming at me, and I had this new power now where I could just blast them and they would blast into smithereens, and it was great. And I made it out of the basement and up into the living room of my grandmother's house. And I was sitting down in the living room, crouching down next to the blue couch. And this is a blue couch that I sat on like so many times as a child growing up. And I was crouching down in front of the couch waiting for this man to come into the house. And I knew who he was coming, and I knew that he was coming in uninvited and that I was going to have to blast him and get rid of him, basically. So I sat there and crouched down, and I just started working on building up my energy and practicing like throwing these energy balls. That way I could defeat him when he came into the house. And that was the dream. So this dream really, to me, was about my womb space. The basement was the womb space. The room, being in the room, was like the uterus. The channels were like the lymphatic system or the ovaries, just the different channels in the womb space. And the ogres were like the growths or the endometriosis that were blocking anything from coming in. This is something that to me was very much connected to my endometriosis and my womb space. And the physical and the spiritual and emotional were all put together in this dream. So there's the physical womb space and the endometriosis being represented with the room, the channels, the ogres. The spiritual aspect of being in my grandmother's house. So in my grandmother's womb space and my grandmother's energy being there. And this man who's coming into the house uninvited. This could be sexual trauma. This could be rape. This could be something that someone in my grandmother's lineage experienced that was extremely traumatic and had a big impact on her womb space, her DNA, because trauma impacts the DNA and it can impact how future generations' DNA is expressed. So this is something that was very apparent to me as soon as I woke up. I said, okay, I need to work on blasting these ogres out of the channels. So I started working with poke root, which is a really great lymphatic herb. It's a very low dose herb, but it's something that can be really helpful for lymphatic stagnancy, cysts, fibroids, endometriosis. I've used it in the past for breast lumps and it's been very effective. And it's something that helps with lymphatic drainage and movement as well. So that blasting of those ogres into smithereens to clear them out, that to me is, okay, what can I use to get things moving in the herbal world? And then the spiritual and emotional aspects of that, I have been doing a lot of root chakra work and reclaiming and kind of coming back into my root chakra after feeling like I've been pushed out because of things that I have experienced in my childhood, because I also took into consideration how I felt as a child, because in that dream, I was kind of experiencing the things that I've felt in childhood, being in my grandmother's house, sitting on that couch, smelling the smells of my grandmother's house. And those are all things that are reminiscent for me of childhood. So addressing the inner child and emotions that have made me feel violated or unloved as a child and push me out of my root chakra, my sacral chakra in those younger years. So that is my approach spiritually and emotionally to what I could be working on now to help myself progress in my healing. So that's kind of how this works for me, in the sense of gaining that information from the dreams and then applying it to day-to-day life and physical things that I can actually do to shift and see change and progress. So I'm taking poke root orally in tincture form. I'm also using a salve of poke root, and I'm also doing some energetic work for the root chakra, sacral chakra, and solar plexus, because those are the areas that are most affected by my endometriosis, and energetically as a child, those are the areas that were most impacted. And that impacts all of the other energy centers as well, but I want to focus there because that's the root of things. So for this ritual, I did about 4 or 5 nights, and you can do more nights, you can do less nights, but the main thing is to think about how much time it is taking you to process the information. And if you have a really significant dream, it may take you, a week to process all of that information, 2 weeks to process all of that information, because we get a lot from these dreams. So take that into consideration. But if you're in a really great flow and you want to do the ritual for like 6 nights or something, then do so. Just make sure that you're writing down all of your dreams as soon as you wake up. That way you can go back and read through them and get more information. If you're having trouble interpreting those dreams, I like to work with a healer or someone who is well-versed in Dreamwork. I personally like to work with tarot for further information and understanding. And I also call in my ancestors, and sometimes I'll be like, I don't really understand this dream. Can you please give me some more insight? And then I'll pay attention to further dreams and just day-to-day synchronicities that may come up and give me more information about that dream. The most important thing, though, is to write it down. That way you can go back and process it later. And so the womb oil that I worked with includes mugwort, cedar, mint, catnip, and lavender. And it's a really beautiful, easy womb oil to make. And you can make it with more herbs, you can make it with less herbs, but I will put the instructions on how to create that womb oil below in the description box, so that way you can make it yourself. It's very affordable and easy to make if you do it yourself, and you can also put it out under the moonlight to infuse some of that moon energy into it as well, which I think helps with getting more clarity in the dream space. And doing this ritual in general and putting the intention in, rubbing this oil on your belly before going to bed, putting it on your pulse points, setting the intention to get more information about what you can do to heal or what you're not seeing in your healing process can be extremely, extremely powerful. So I definitely encourage you to try it out. Set your dates, set your intention, write everything down. I like to burn a candle at night while I'm working on that intention, writing any notes down about what I'd like to learn, rubbing oil on my body. I usually burn a candle, and depending on any deities that I'm working with or ancestors that I'm working with, I'll use a black or a white candle. For this particular ritual, I actually used a black candle because I really wanted to go deep. I wanted to kind of pull in more of that energy of going into the darkness, going into the deep, dark spaces to pull out this information that I am not seeing in the light. So I worked with black candle for 3 nights in a row, and I also worked with an obsidian stone. I actually have an obsidian egg that I was working with, and I put the obsidian egg in at night before I went to bed. I also left an offering out of pomegranate because pomegranate is very much connected to fertility. And I also left a glass of water out on my altar space. I'm looking at it now. And I had a mugwort bundle that I made from some mugwort that I collected in New Mexico. And I burned some of that before going to bed as well as part of the ritual. So that was my process, and I'll leave some information about how I put all of this together in the blog post. But this is a really great practice for anyone who is going through their womb healing process and hitting blocks. And this is for anyone who, whether you're menstruating or you're not menstruating, and really this is not gender specific. This is for anyone who is dealing with issues around a blocked root, sacral, or solar plexus energy, and you would like to shift and see progress and growth in being more grounded. And for example, anyone who experiences a lot of other people's energy and feels like they're always absorbing other people's stuff, this is because there's a lack of grounding, and that's connected to the root chakra. So this is a really helpful exercise or practice for anyone who's looking to be more grounded in their root and to have a deeper connection with that part or that energy center within the body. So I hope you got some information from this, and I hope that you will try this ritual out for yourself. And if you do, please leave a comment on how it went for you in the comments below. And if you would like to work with me one-on-one, you can find me on moonmedicine.co. I'm also on Instagram at moonmedicines, and I offer one-on-one sessions for womb wellness, ancestor work, and mentorship. And as a medicine woman, I look at the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, and I work with herbs to help you along in your healing process. So thank you again for stopping by. If you enjoyed this, please do like and comment and share, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Bye.